It really is, Gaskin. I couldn't agree more with you, man. Like, I don't like that team name. However, you know, who knows what they were thinking. Quadrant, no, I want to highlight because, you know, this team, I think, has a lot of potential. They have been making waves throughout the entirety of the Pro Series in the beginning of the season, but can't quite get over that barrier. They can't quite get into that top 2 spot currently. Gaskin, what do you make of Quadrant overall and the composition of this team?
Now, and they have the chance to break that barrier and get into top 4 against a Quadrant roster who are out for revenge. This Quadrant roster will not want to finish in top 6 again, Richie. They don't want the questions to be asked about them. They don't want us as casters saying, well, is there something wrong? When they know fundamentally there is not anything wrong. As a team, they are a solid squad and they are slapping people in scrims. I want to see the same slappage here in HCS in a best of 3.
Well, Dan's calling for the backhand of Quadrant to dish out the slaps onto WhoKnows and solidify themselves as one of the best teams around. Recharge Strongholds is going to be our game 1. Typically a really good one for Quadrant. Let's see how they get on then as we get underway and Fragxr picks up a double kill.
Certainly, Strongholds is a great game type for a lot of these French rosters, or for our 2 main French rosters. They just seem to be so aggressive and they're relentless with their pressure onto the other team that makes it very difficult off spawn to be able to get any sort of setup or any sort of strategy going. But at the moment, in the early stages, it's WhoKnows who've been able to pick up the early Strongholds. Quadrant, even after a pretty good start, picking up the camouflage and a couple of slays, WhoKnows were able to prioritize map position here, and now they're getting the points for it.
Let's highlight a player here then, Dan. A member of the former HMCA. It's going to be Clonely, and he's found himself onto this team and is finishing top 6, top 8 consistently. Is he trying to is his nose a little bit out of joint, looking to prove a point here that he's still one of the best players in Europe?
Yeah, I think I'm glad that Clonely has landed on his feet. I always hate seeing a team change at the top end of European Halo, especially when it was such a good opportunity for him to be teaming with those HMCA boys or the previous HMDA, whatever. It would have been so easy for him to get dropped from that roster and then not compete, or find a team who just consistently finishes top 12, top 16, and he doesn't really get his face on the screen. But now he's getting that opportunity to display what he is made of, and I'm happy for him. He's going to be carrying a lot of seeding points because of the ability that he was able to find those results, get into Rally, and perform well with HMDA. Now he's got to use that experience and what he's learned from that roster here on WhoKnows.
Using some of that experience, he's already locked in a killing spree. 5 kills without reply, and he's sitting over here towards top Mangler, putting some lovely shots down and making sure to control B for his team. But now he's going to have to play a little bit of defense as 2 members fall around him, and trying to defend A all by himself, recognizes that as well. Snakey comes through with a grenade just to help matters a touch. So he will have some teammates in the back pocket to help him out, but this fight's going to be bottom elevator. It's going to be a really difficult kill, but Fragxr comes out on top.
And his job there was just to delay as long as possible over at A. It would have been amazing if he'd been able to pick up a kill, but it's hard to be unpredictable in elevator, because if you drop from the top balcony there, you're 9 times out of 10 always going to push bottom elevator to try and get the kill. So all it takes is 1 grenade or 1 jump from the other player to try and get a better position than you, and you're most likely taken down. So it's all about just delaying the inevitable, giving the rest of your team time to actually take a 3v3 elsewhere in the map before the death inevitably happens, and then they're left in a 3 versus 4.
Shad then had camouflage for a moment, although not able to get anything cooking with it. Able to do just what Dan mentioned, delay the inevitable, trying to stop that B capture. Unfortunately, it was all in vain, but they have got A and C in control here. NURIX looking to stop that, but Mose is going to come out on top in that particular engagement. Fragxr shuts him down, gets the reset onto B, and A starting to transition over towards Quadrant now, but WhoKnows have had a good start.
The name Shad, I just feel like I'm doing Wordle and I'm waiting to put in that 5th letter, the E, to maybe come in and call him Shade instead. Shad just doesn't sit right with me. Or it's Chad, maybe the S instead. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that one, but certainly I'm just waiting for some sort of confirmation on the pronunciation, because I always thought it was Shade, but Shad, I guess, makes sense just reading it. But anyway, Quadrant are still down by quite a considerable amount here against WhoKnows. This has been a really hot start for the blue team, and I think they'll be delighted with this.
Call him what you like. His team are on top at the minute. And we're seeing Snakey just dip out of dodge there for a moment, and TchiK's going to get taken down over towards this whirlpool, and Fragxr going to push over towards pipes and be met with Clonely down to no shields, and Shad, and with the help of his teammate, gets that cleaned up. SLG putting down those lines of sight. Good engagement goes down with Mose over towards top control. He's not back down for a moment, is Fragxr, and just wait for this camouflage to pop up, and this next one could be big, Dan.
Yeah, it could be important to break a setup or just to try and keep hold of a setup. Quadrant have managed to get B and C. This isn't the ideal setup because spawning at A, I'd say, is probably the best spawn you can get on this map, but you can certainly get collapsed on, and Quadrant have done just that. This is what they need to do. Take A away from WhoKnows, force them over towards C, and then just hold on to these two. Watch long haul, watch bottom middle, or watch control, and just make it very difficult to get across. But this is perfect from Snakey, getting that camouflage and using it to full effect to try and take B.
It's raining fire and brimstone over towards B. They do manage to lock it in, but for how long? Only time will tell. 2 members down. Now Shad and Snakey waiting to rejoin their teammates. Clonely going to join them again, so numbers advantage still for the moment in favor of Quadrant, although as I say, that Fragxr does drop, and now it has flipped over towards WhoKnows. A and B though still in control for Quadrant. 105-72 the score with 5 minutes left on the clock, and that camouflage wasn't really effective as though we might have thought.
Yeah, well, my issue with it was that I think it was a good play from Snakey to take B and distract the Quadrant roster, but what you need is the rest of the team to then go for either C or A. But he was joined by a member of his team that meant that they both died and then gave B right back over to Quadrant. This was a better push, though. They went into B, and as they were doing it, 2 members of WhoKnows went into A, and they just collapsed successfully, and now they get a successful hold. TchiK is going to try and do the same thing. He's the distraction now at this point, and they've got a couple of players trapped over towards long hole, so this is really worked out for Quadrant. They should be able to score some more.
Yeah, momentarily, a fresh 4 dead for WhoKnows. Starting to spawn up over towards A. Snakey trying as he might to defend A with his life. He is able to get a trade against the odds there. That's going to open up the map just a touch. You can see Clonely turning his attentions over towards B. Fragxr's going to fall in the meantime, so it's going to be a 1v1 with SLG to try and defend B, and he decides to back down and allow that transition to go over towards WhoKnows.
Now, what you don't want to do here is if you've got A and B is then push too aggressively onto C and go for the trip cap. It's doable. Ascend would probably disagree with me because Ascend like to consistently push for that trip cap, but Ascend aren't playing right now. They are what would seemingly be a different breed when it comes to European Halo. So instead, you've got to play at the same pace as your competitors at times. And this one is very much a setup game between these two teams. It's grab A and B, try and keep the team at C. But if you can't get hold of A, it's trying to do your best possible way of holding the map with just C and B. It's difficult, but it is doable.
TchiK with the sword in his back pocket, looking to get up close and personal. Got bad intentions in his eyes. C gonna transition over towards WhoKnows, but the gun engagement goes down, and this time Quadrant are gonna come out on top, take down Snakey, and indeed Clonely. It's gonna be 4 dead once more. Quadrant starting to cook.
And WhoKnows trying to go for an AC setup, and I would argue that is one of the worst setups you can go for because it just allows the other team to probably spawn A, which is what's just happened. Quadrant not only collapsed onto C, but also got their A spawn to get trip cap, get some significant points, and now they're trying to punish the other roster. A double kill from TchiK just coming zipping in with a sword.
Zippity do that. Straight in with the sword, no messing around, no hassle. 3 dead then. TchiK still has that standing blade in his back pocket to go to business. He's going to turn his attentions over towards C with a repulsor to boot, so anybody getting close is going to be met with fresh death. Mose is going to be the first one as a victim, and he's getting taken down. Killing spree locked in. Snakey answers back onto SLG, but it's a really significant bit of scoring here, and consistency starting to come out. They've got control of it now, do Quadrants. Yeah,
the whole map. They just don't want to give up A spawns here, and so that's why it's good. They've got one player kind of anchoring towards A and drifting out to see who's spawning where, and now they know the spawn is at C. Whilst they've got control of C, they can collapse on it. They can just nade towards it because it's very easy to nade and shoot those players who are trying to take C off you. But you don't want to leave yourself too vulnerable to too many players being able to rotate out, get off spawn, and then take B away from you, and then eventually push themselves through gold and take A. It's a very difficult game to try and manage these rotations. Quadrant have done okay with it, and TchiK, especially if he had stayed alive there, would have been a massive factor of that.
Quadrant then, treading the needle, striking the balance just right for the moment, it would seem. A and C in their control again once more. The poor man setup seems to be working for them time and time again. Camouflage player down to no shields, tries to round the corner, unable to do so. 207 to 149.
Worth noting, Snakey at the moment, 24 kills, make it 25. Does he get stuck? No, avoids the sticky grenade and tries to make it 26. He's having a fantastic game at the moment in terms of slays, but the team is still behind after a very impressive lead. Quadrant just seem to have found their footing, but a potential trip cap here will be traded out C for A. This is the thing. WhoKnows have given up A now, They do know Quadrant are there. They have to collapse quickly. You've got to have someone helping you from Turbine at this point. If you're Snakey, you can hold them for as long as possible from top control, but there needs to be movement from the rest of the team.
Still on board with Snakey then. Sword in his back pocket, although it's completely out of battery. Screaming for double A's, but it's not going to come. Cloney, though, with the help, will come instead. Mangler going to swap out for that sword now, and Fragxr turns his attentions over towards Steve. It's going to be a good engagement now. Pop down to no shields. Snakey's on top here. Will manage to get the reset. Fragxr realizing his number was up and got himself out of dodge.
Snakey looking like the Snakey of old. Someone who's performed so well throughout every iteration of Halo ever since, well, Halo 3. We saw some success when Halo 3 was revived once more in European Halo. Snakey was at the very tippity top. He was winning events. And then, of course, that naturally transitioned to Halo 4 into Halo 5. And really was impressed with how he did transition from game to game. I was worried about how he might get into Halo Infinite because he wasn't necessarily around in the latter stages of Halo 5, but he seems to have found his footing. He seems to have found a team that works around him, but they are still down by around 20 points, and Quadrant, they're pushing for the trip cap.
Sword and Hat did rest upon Snakey's head. It would scream Slytherin. Now we're on board with SLG. 2 members go down for WhoKnows. That's exactly the sort of door opening that they need to really solidify some more points. Cloney's going to hit the deck as well. And now SLG turns 1 into 2, looking and turns his attentions over towards Mose. Team comes through. It's going to be a triple cap momentarily. They're looking to see this game out, game 1.
Yeah, this should be game right here. You transition A, you're holding B. You just have to watch the cross. And you can even be a nuisance and look towards C, but they just need to make sure no one gets into B. Clonely is the player who's trying to be there. At least Fragxr is there to stop it, and that's going to be game 1 going in favor of Quadrant. So after a disappointing start, and they were looking a little bit on the rails, it has made sure that Quadrant showed us what they're made of here, taking first map 250 to 201.
Quadrant then on the ropes momentarily, but perhaps performing some rope.
I said on the rails instead of on the ropes.
On the rails. Yeah, you
well,
did.
maybe if the wrestling ring was just a little bit more like hardcore and it was rails instead of a ring, it would be very uncomfortable for the wrestlers. But, you know, sometimes French players, they like uncomfortable situations, Richie.
It could be some sort of cage match, and
yeah,
we're going to go for the wrestling analogy. That's fine. I'm okay with that. I'm on board with it. But you would still have ropes in there. But either way, Quadrant, 250 points to 201, and the banana skin that is WhoKnows, they're passing the test so far. Snakey, 27 kills, Dan, with over 6,500 damage to the boot. So Snakey's doing what he can, but unfortunately some of the teammates of his starting to struggle a little bit. Mose in particular with just under 5k, and the only person in the lobby to do so.
Yeah, struggle bus on that side, but I'm very impressed with how Quadrant were able to respond after the kind of start that we saw WhoKnows explode into, which was interesting because like the starting strategy from Quadrant was quite sound. They were able to get a couple of kills, they got the camouflage, but it was the position that WhoKnows took from that start. They almost gave up the camo and said, well, let's get some of the priority places instead. Let's ensure we've got top goal, we've got top control, and then we can just wait, see where this camo goes. As soon as we've got that kill, we control the map. And they were able to pick up a lot of points because of it. But Quadrant, they got back into it. There was a large period of triple cap success for Quadrant where they were rotating as a unit and just forcing WhoKnows off of spawns so often. And I think that's what's important as a team, is knowing when you can take advantage of those trip caps and really pick up some points. But we go into Slayer Bazaar now, which is an entirely different game from Strongholds Recharge. We go from a somewhat fast-paced rotational game type to a game that is very much about standing on your bar, holding an angle and hitting those shots, and hopefully a player on your team able to just sneak in behind and maybe do some damage.
We've seen Quadrant be a little bit of a mixed bag on Bazaar, Slayer. Dan, what are some of the pitfalls that they've fallen into in the past that you think they need to correct here and now?
I think Quadrant are a team who are just very proactive. They want to move. They don't like standing still. I mean, I know me as a Halo player, I'm exactly the same. I hate holding angles. I hate long-range BR fights, but some people are built for that. Some people love to anchor. And I do feel like maybe Quadrant lack that anchor player. When you look at their roster, they all like to get into the nitty-gritty, take those up-close and personal fights, go for the power-ups. That's fine, but they just need to know when to stop, when to kind of control the middle of the map and stop pushing for kills. Because you can easily push into the other side of the base when 1 or 2 players are spawned, get those kills, give up the middle of the map, and then the other team manages to, I don't know, prioritize rockets or prioritize overshield just as you're getting too aggressive, and they take that control away from you and they will punish you. So I just think that Quadrant lack a little bit of control and patience when it comes to this map, but that was previously. We'll see whether that's changed here and now.
Quadrant then, after a quick pit stop Have they got the soft tires on and hoping it doesn't rain here on Bazaar? Rockets are going to do just that, rain down death and destruction. 2 kills go in favor. NURIX hits the respawn screen as well, but early start here, 3-3.
That's the 3rd successive week you've made a Formula 1 reference.
Love it.
Is that because Quadrant is owned by Lando Norris? Just
I'm clever. Yeah,
just to clarify, okay, you are really clever.
Very clever.
I just wanted to make sure that was the reason why, and it wasn't just a happy coincidence, because I don't like to give you credit, but I will give you credit in that instance. And here's the up close and personal fights I was talking about. TchiK getting in and amongst it. Stark Fragxr is there as well. And even though the trades do go in their favor, where's the map control? It's just a lot of players running around the middle at the moment. I'd like to see them get some height here, which Fragxr is trying to do.
Fragxr climbs the ladder and it leads to Bar. Just trying to survey the land then, download information for his team and find Snakey over here towards back Bar, and Shad is also positioned on that platform. Fragxr opting to stay alive here. Naded out though, forced to back down here in a 1v1 engagement with Shad, but Mose on point too. A 2v1 is going to result in him hitting the respawn screen, and now we're seeing 8 kills to 6. WhoKnows starting to creep right back into this.
TchiK again trying to be a nuisance from behind. At the moment, it's a bit sloppy, and SLG trying to take advantage of that, having the Bulldog. Again, priority with weapons, very important here on Bazaar. There's so much you can work with, whether it's grenades, whether it's weapons, whether it's actually just holding an angle with the battle rifle. But what's important here is communication and keeping up with the spawns of which side the other team's going to be on, whereabouts they're going to be spawning as well. Is it thruster? Is it going to be down towards the trench area? You can pick up so many kills when you have a player advantage and you find those spawns, and that's what's happening right now for Quadrant. They're pushing, they're getting aggressive, and they're trying to take advantage of having that extra player up at times.
You speak about communication being a key to success here, Dan, and something that we haven't touched upon yet is the fact that Quadrant are actually all playing in the same place. They've made it over towards Quadrant HQ. They're playing in the same room, so that's going to help them in terms of communication and teamwork.
I think that's massive for any team to get that chemistry and being able to play next to one another. Not only can you watch your teammate's screen when you're in the death screen or they're in the death screen, but you can help each other. You can give a friendly little nudge. You can give eye contact and say, like, step it up. What the hell are you doing? Like, there's just so much different things that can be done when you're playing in person. I'd say that gives Quadrant a massive advantage in the tournament today. I know Mocket can say something similar. They're in a gaming house, but I don't think they play all 4 next to one another. I'm actually unsure. Maybe I'll get confirmation from them next week because they all have their own rooms, but I would hope they're all playing next to each other. As if Quadrant are doing that, you are right. Communication is going to be so much better when you're playing in the same place.
Snakey then, what can you do to counteract some of that communication? Maybe that advantage that they have on that side of things. Score for the moment 17-17 with Fragxr shutting down Snakey with a combination of a couple of members of Quadrant, but trades coming back and forth. Not going to see these rockets be used just yet, as Cloney's opted to hold on to them and living to fight another day. Maybe trying to get max bang for his buck, but what way will it shake out? TchiK bottom middle over towards those grenades. He's going to get taken down, and Cloney's going to survey the land, push over towards Bar with the use of that grapple as well. Sails in, gets 1, tries to turn 2, and does so. Great plays from Cloney.
Yeah, how about that for bang for your buck? It's one of those difficult ones with rockets, isn't it? You don't want to aimlessly fire it and give the rockets away, but at the same time, you're always just hesitant that someone could backsmack you and take those 2 rockets, and you know how important those 2 kills could be. It's given WhoKnows a 5 kill, make that 4 kill advantage now. But with the overshield popping soon, that's the next focus. You've got to get in a position that you can not only be able to grab it, but also stop the other team from being able to just jump at it for free or grapple it. That's where you've got to take into the occasion here, the equation, knowing full well someone could be in a little cheeky spot to grab it with the grapple.
All eyes on it then, making sure anybody with a grapple hasn't got that line of sight. Thruster just picked up by Fragxr, though. Will he be able to stay alive here? Yes, indeed, he will. Just trying to prioritize living for the moment. Score 25-23. And although WhoKnows started to put a little bit of distance between them and Quadrant, now the collapse coming through. TchiK picks up 1. Then the spawns is just starting to flip, and 25-24 as we crossed over the midway point, and you don't like that, Dan. What's wrong with that?
They had middle of map control. He was in locker, and he obviously tried to push into tree, thinking they were going to spawn on that side, hoping to capitalize on maybe just collapsing on a team.
What's the chicken do?
Perhaps it was just a little bit... The chicken's lagged out, I think. It's disconnected. I think that you've got to just maybe think a little bit more about where you are on the map. He had control of the lockers. He could have just held around the truck area as well, and it would have made it so difficult for WhoKnows to push out of tree. Instead, he was trying to maybe do too much by getting aggressive, and he died because of it.
Now then, the result of it, and that 1 death could very well pay dividends here, as we've seen now. WhoKnows have pushed their kill advantage to 6. Fragxr gonna get caught unawares once more, running straight into death once again. NURIX set up over towards that sneaky ledge. He's back down as well. Now full map control, like you said, Dan, has been handed straight back over to WhoKnows.
Difficult when you're in this situation when you're 6 kills down, because you want to naturally slow it down, but at the same time, by slowing it down, you're almost giving the advantage to the team who has the lead, because they're going to be more than happy to play it slow as well. What's important is you try and focus this next overshield, because that could be what gets you back in the game. But quite rightly so, both teams trying to get their kills before the overshield comes up. How many times do you see teams just have a standoff, wait, hope that someone jumps on it? You can't afford to do that at the very top level of Halo. Instead, you want to try and time your slays so then you get an easy overshield pickup.
Here does come that overshield. Who's managed to secure it for their team? It's going to be SLG's gotten his hands on the prize. Have Rockets transferred over as well? It looks as though they have. And Shad's picked them up. It's a 1-1 split. 37-31 here. Rocket goes down. 2 go in favor of WhoKnows. They're making a real game of it here.
Fires a rocket across the map. A 7-kill advantage. Make that a 9-kill advantage suddenly. WhoKnows should be able to take this one with this kind of lead. They can't let this slip. This is where experience comes into it, though. We have seen teams fail in this occasion. You've got to continue the aggression. Don't allow Quadrant to play the way they want to play right now. Continue to push these spawns in the right ways. Don't get caught from behind and give up too much mid-map control, because Quadrant naturally will not be pushing out aggressively right now. They'll instead be trying to take angles from bar, from tree, and you can capitalize on that. You can make them really suffer for turtling up.
The advice from Dan then, do not let this slip. In the words of Steven Gerrard, we all know how that went. As Dembaba bared down on goal. 45 now to 37. Looks as though there's not much chance of that. If it's going to flip over, it has to do it very, very quickly. They've only got 5 more lives to play with here, do Quadrant. And they do turn 1. TchiK does secure that one for his team. Snakey going to hit the respawn screen. Now, numbers advantage, but it looks as though they're happy just to keep control. But WhoKnows don't have to come out and play here.
Well, WhoKnows have at least been backed into a corner. And maybe Quadrant have played enough attrition over the last couple of weeks that they know how to play with only a set amount of lives. The Dynamos could make a real difference here. 46-39. At least WhoKnows have been able to get out of that rut that they were in. They are giving away some kills. This is still entirely winnable. WhoKnows have to be careful.
Careful then. Shad isolated all alone over towards that lockers, but 2 members descend onto Fragxr. That's going to put him away. 1 kill needed here, and it comes through. It's going to be 1-0 in the series. WhoKnows bounce back.
Yeah, tying up 1-1 then. WhoKnows will be delighted with that one. It is a Slayer. Anything can happen in these Slayers, and that's going to be yet more frustration for Quadrant. Not able to get it done in those initial 2. Taking it to a game 3. I think they'll be more happy that, you know, at least it's going to be an objective game. I think naturally you know that, you know, better teams usually find success when it comes to these objectives, but it's always going to plant that seed of doubt in the mind of Quadrant now of, oh, is it going to happen again? Are we going to finish in top 6? And there's a lot of pressure on them this week. They are, of course, playing together at a LAN center. It's not, I don't think it's a Quadrant HQ. I think it's a LAN center they're playing at, but I'm sure Quadrant are there, of course. But maybe in future we might see Quadrant have a lone HQ. So there's going to be that extra little bit of pressure on the shoulders of the Quadrant boys. I don't think they should let themselves get too disheartened. Bazaar Slayer is one of those that once you fall behind by a certain number, it's very difficult to rescue it back and try and wrestle the score in your favor. In terms of damage and kills, I mean, it was pretty normal across the board from what you'd expect from some of these players. Clonely was down a little bit lower, but it doesn't matter too much because the rest of the team were able to pick up the slack and they were able to get the victory.
There we have it then, as the highlights come through. We're going to a game 3. So here it is for Quadrant. That's going to be Aquarius CTF, and that's been a game type that they've struggled, particularly with last week. HMCA getting the better of them 5-1, Dan. So is the omen here, is it right on the wall for them? They have to bounce back here, and now, of course, they will be heading home if not.
Yeah, I think that, you know, they don't have to. It's not like it's going to be doom and gloom if they fall in top 6 again. It will be more credit to WhoKnows and how they're performing, and in general how well the European scene is finding its competitive nature at this point. But if you are a squad like Quadrant who has had those top 2 finishes, you've tasted being at the top, you want that taste of success once more. Otherwise it's going to be a very bitter taste in your mouth that you know, you're going to have sleepless nights. I know what these players are like. I've been through it. I used to compete back in the day when you were so close to getting top 4, top 3, top 2, but then it's just a couple of kills short or 1 map short. The best of 3s, they're brutal. It's so difficult when you go down 2-1 or you lose to a team where, you know, the game types maybe didn't go in your favor. But that's why you've just got to make sure you've got a solid kind of performance across every single game type, so that when you go to any best of 3 or any best of 5, you go, cool, doesn't matter what we're playing here. We don't have any weak game types. We feel confident. Even if the other team has strong game types, as long as you have a solid plan on every single one, you shouldn't walk into any series fearing a game type. And I think that happens to too many teams. I know there are quite a lot of maps and game modes to actually practice, but we're into enough of a life cycle now where Halo Infinite's been out for enough time. People should know how to play this game type. So Quadrant, they need to make sure they get back on it here, win this game type, get themselves into top 4, get that belief back in themselves, and start to trust that they are a top team, not one of these teams that's just descending. Because everyone's going to want to take a bite out of Quadrant at the moment. They've been back-to-back top 6. They've had disappointing performances, and people are going to see them as weak. You need to reassert your dominance if you're Quadrant, and it happens right here, right now.
Do it right here, right now then. Losers round 4, game 3, Aquarius CTF is going to be our setting. Some of the keys to success, particularly on flag, is going to be controlling that car side of the map, and that can be pivotal as to see which way this one shakes out. Early engagement's going to go down. There's booms sticking everywhere, grenades, gunshots, all the works, and the first man to hit the respawn screen is going to be Mose.
It's very important to control car side, but also you don't want to be scared of having one person anchoring at top P. You get such a good visual from top P, and you could be really a detriment to the other team. Bad thing is, if you are top P, you can force spawns a little bit. You can maybe encourage teammates to join you at top P, and then you give up car side. So it does have to be communicated. Really just need that one player anchoring from up there. Even though control of car side's important, I'd say don't ignore the P side. It's very useful at different times.
Oh, 2 big kills come through, though. This flag hasn't been returned, and Shad's got it out and on the move, and all the way over towards his own lockers area. Nobody in position to put some shots down, and this is going to be a cleaner run as you're going to see after that initial engagement over towards lockers. So, great display from them, and who knows, go 1-0 up, and confidence is going to be taking a hit here if you're Quadrant.
Hold on, it says Shadow there in the UI. Maybe we found the missing letters, finally. And that makes a lot of sense. You know, I thought it was a Wordle 5-letter one, but it's not. It's 6. We had to find 2 more. And Shad, short for Shadow. Finally, I can sleep peacefully at night knowing what the name actually stands for. But a great start from WhoKnows. And again, that's going to worry Quadrant here. They're going to be thinking back to what happened against HMCA when they lost 5-1 last week, and they really weren't able to be on top of their game. As yet another flag being ran, but great decision there from Shad just to put a little bit of pressure and a couple of shots on the spawners behind him.
We've seen that exact play out of Shad twice now, where he brings the flag over towards that closet and drops it and turns around to put down some more damage. And it's meant 2-0 now, the score for WhoKnows. Quadrant, are you awake? Game on.
Where, oh, where is Shadow? Where, oh, where is Shadow? He's in your base! He's taking the flag! You've got to take him down. You can't allow him to have that much success and be able to easily pick up the flag time and time again. But Quadrant now trying to get a flag of their own. They finally found a set of slays, but where are the rest of WhoKnows? Are they in a position where they could potentially stop this one?
Well, 2-0 to the good, and dancing and bearing the big blue house. So will we be saying goodbye, friends? Goodbye. Still plenty of life left in this game as Quadrant go 2-1 now. They answer back with a cap of their own. SLG's got the camouflage, and he's trying to make his best Shadow impression here by going invisible.
He can do a lot here, can SLG. Important he's got the thruster. Does lose the camouflage temporarily, but he's in a spot where he can stop this flag, but needs to win this fight with Shad. Might be able to do so as well. Unfortunately cannot, but he's done enough damage to allow TchiK to at least finish this one off. They need this re very quickly. Snakey's in the vicinity to try and get the re though.
Here comes Snakey trying to get touch tight. Isn't able to trade it out this time though, and that flag is going to get sent home. And fantastic performance out of TchiK just to keep that flag alive. And now they're looking to tie things up if they can get it over the halfway point.
Yeah, really impressive from TchiK. Started by SLG as well, just to get into a position to ensure that that flag was slowed down a little bit. And now Quadrant looking to move this flag. Fragxr just waiting to gain his shields before he does run it. You do leave yourself a little bit vulnerable when you run through the connectors, of course, but it is the fastest route. There should be a flag cap because of it. Oh, it doesn't quite go in.
Doesn't quite go in. Snakey's there as well. He's going to get a kill, but he gets taken down. So to spare the blushes of Quadrant, we're all tied up.
All tied up. This is exactly what the doctor ordered. You want as much competitive games here in Europe as possible. Shad's in the base again, pulling the flag. You can really see the objective focused play from Shad at the moment, and it's working out wonders for his team.
Shad absolutely loves the enemy base and loves getting his hands on the flag. And this is going to be another flag cap with 2 members.
Wow.
Make that 3 in the respawn screen for Quadrant. just how quick that flag cap was once more. A counter, 3-2, WhoKnows retake the lead.
Remember when this first game type came out, or this game type came out initially at the start of Halo 5, and people were like, we don't think it should be 5 flags, we think it should be 3. I think we've just seen a demonstration as why it's so important for it to be 5 here on Aquarius, because these flags can be so quickly ran now. People are starting to work out the quickest route and also the best way to spawn trap and kill those who are trying to stop the flag, that they just fly. Sometimes when you see that flag taken, if you're not in a position where you can get to the other side of the base quickly, you almost just have to give it up, try and take map control once more, and prioritize staying alive and getting those slays rather than desperating that flag.
Who can then retake map control? Evidence suggesting it's going to be Quadrant here, as they have got more real estate and taking control of utility once more. Sizzle Stick goes in, gets a quick kill onto Clonely, make that a double for SLG, but he wisely decides he's going to back up once more. But a player having a bit of a struggle game at the moment is going to be Fragxr, who's dead once more. 4 kills and 11. He's going to need to step it up if his team are going to see success here, Dan.
Yeah, it does have 6 assists, so at least he's still being involved in enough fights, but he's clearly not able to find those final kills right now and maybe just caught off spawn to the rest of the team. Certainly, you've got to be careful if you're doing what SLG was doing, where he was kind of sprinting around looking for those players. You give away so much audio cues when you sprint. I know that you don't want to be crouching everywhere to try and be silent. As I say that, Snakey doing just the perfect demonstration that you do want to be silent sometimes. Sprinting is so much louder than just normal running. The footsteps, if you've got your audio turned up and your team's not yelling in your ears, you can get so much information from the other team.
Snakey then secured utility for his team. Flag pulled out, but he's getting tagged up from the fridge area. You know that player standing up on top and trying to put as much damage down as he can. SLG is going to eat that frag grenade for his troubles, and Shady's moving this flag again. Going to have to reload the heat wave before he can get it cooking once more. He has got some teammates there to relay this flag too and just escort it all the way home, and SLG turned to dust particles once more. Shad and Cloney though in the respawn screen. It's a straight 2v2, but the flag looks like it's gotten all the way home, and it has 4-2 now to WhoKnows.
4-2, and Snakey also able to do damage from behind, so now the spawners can actually compete for this camouflage. It would have been an easy grab for Quadrant if Snakey wasn't there. 2 flags behind, still plenty of time, but just being 1 flag away from being eliminated from the competition once more in top 6. That would be 3 weeks in a row. And regardless of how well scrims have been going for Quadrant and how good they look in other competitions and in those practice games, it would be another failure for them. Even though top 6 is, it's a great result for most teams in Europe, Quadrant have been top 2. This can't happen 3 weeks in a row.
SLG with the camouflage. What can he do? Very little as he gets taken down with it, unable to escape with his life. And will that come back to bite him and his team in the end? 2 members down, make it 3 once more. SLG is going to rejoin his team now, but map control slowly drifting back over towards WhoKnows, and this game isn't shaking out the way they had planned.
No, Quadrant would have been looking at this series, probably rubbing their hands together and said, oh, well, we've had some difficult games for top 4, but WhoKnows? WhoKnows? Who are they? They've not been performing amazing. They've only just briefly touched top 6 in the previous week, but it seems like practice starting to pay off for this WhoKnows roster, and they really know how to play Aquarius Capture the Flag. And I would argue that this was probably the worst game type that could have been game 3 for Quadrant, mainly because a game type like Aquarius Flag plays so similarly to some of the old Halo CTF games that naturally players who used to compete, like Snakey, like Clonely, like Mose, who have played across all these iterations of Halo, they know fundamentally how to play this map. So even though Quadrant has more practice, WhoKnows still know how to get the job done. But as I say that, flag is moving.
Flag is moving, and momentarily 4 dead as well. That should result in a flag cap, and barring some sort of miracle, it's not going to come through, not going to come to fruition. They've gotten themselves back within touch and distance. 1 flag cap now. The difference between these 2 teams, TchiK tried to get greedy and pull out another flag, but he was shut down. Mose also in the front base, taken down.
Camo was there, and I think was hopefully picked up by Quadrant as they had a little bit of map control. Flag is going to move once more, but Snakey's in a position to maybe do some damage, but that's a great trade. And damage done by the Quadrant roster to ensure he would fall. Camo wasn't picked up. Mose has actually just been able to escape with it. That's a surprise. Quadrant definitely should have been able to grab that one.
Well, unable to do much with it though, as he immediately hits the respawn screen. Shoryuken sends him by the wayside, and flag slow towards his front base, desperately trying to get a touch, and they do. 3 dead. Mo's the last man alive. They know exactly where he is, positioned over towards Fridge. They're in trouble now, WhoKnows. They're on the ropes.
Yeah, look out Quadrant tried to position themselves as well, just to make sure they got some nades and were able to stop the players pushing too successfully up to the top of P. 4-4, and we're down to next flag wins. This is what this series deserved. It's been so back and forth. Both teams have impressed me. It's going to be a shame to see either eliminated at this point because they've both demonstrated enough to suggest they could be a top 4 side. But Quadrant, they've got the momentum on their side. Who knows, we'll probably start to think, oh, are we going to throw this one away? Are we going to reach that barrier once more, get to that final hurdle, but just not able to jump it?
4-4 then. Next cap wins. A straight shootout between these two teams. Shadow and Fragxr. This fight's going to be pivotal, but the help comes through. TchiK is on hand to help out his compatriot, and now all of a sudden, map control in their favor. TchiK's behind enemy lines, takes down one. He's going to get a flag pulled to boot and pull it P-side.
See, that's the only problem with Shad going into the base and pulling it without any map control. You leave yourself vulnerable. If you die, the rest of the team can certainly suffer for it.
Here we go then. He's already gotten it well over the halfway point, up towards his P stairs too, getting tagged up in the back. Clonely on hand to stop that, but 2 members go down momentarily here. Good engagement, goes down once more. Trades back and forth. Snakey picks up 2 in the kill feed. NURIX last man alive.
Last man alive, and he gets the kill, and he gets the touch, and now they just need the re. They're so close here, Quadrant. They just have to work together to get that return.
Return comes through. Just needs to slide in and punch it home, which they do. They snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. 5-4 on this Aquarius CTF. Quadrant punch their ticket to the next round.
And that speaks volumes. That's so important that Quadrant were able to get that victory. They could have very easily fallen in that game. Another top 6, another question mark above their head and their team. But instead, they show resilience. They show they can get back into the game. They show they can win these best of 3s. And Quadrant back into the top 4 now. And even though it's going to be a tough ride from here, I think Na'Vi is a likely opponent at this point. It's not going to be a case where they are disappointed with their performance. I think top 4 is what you expect when you're a roster like Quadrant. Who knows where that potential banana skin, but SLG stepping up when he needed to. The captain of this side, the leader who has been there, done that.